Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman.
And hello, everybody. So glad to be here with you on Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Once again, we've got an amazing guest. He is the epitome of both sides of the story I tell about here sometimes. The millionaires are making all that money, and they pretend they've got this great life, and then you find out their life is a shambles, and they're in total lack and worry and everything else. And you got those that are coming from the deeper abundance and the fullness of who they are. They're spiritual rock stars. Well, I guess it's traveled both paths now. So, and now he's out there teaching about being a spiritual rock star in his own way, 100%. So I'm looking forward to sharing Adam with you in just one moment. Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate, make money meditation today. So Adam, it's just so grateful to, I'm so grateful to have you here today. I got to have somebody that actually has been to both sides of it is amazing. I think it's such a rich conversation we're going to have today.
I'm excited to be here with you, Dan, and all of your audience. These are extraordinary times, and I think we probably all would agree extraordinary times ask for extraordinary action. And so I look forward to seeing what kind of things we want to explore and what kind of actions we want to take, but hopefully helping everybody to get together and find a way forward through some of the challenges and chaoses we face in our world and also in our lives. So excited to be here with you. Let's see where we want to go today.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. I love it. Yeah, we got a grand adventure here, right? So always fun. So I've got an extensive bio here. I'll try to keep it brief, but he's a very accomplished man. Adam C. Hall is committed to helping individuals unlearn the beliefs, behaviors, and habits that shield them from discovering their divine genius, the key to acknowledging and activating a true divine selves. In his new book, Divine Genius, The Unlearning Curve, love that, Adam shares the 13 universal wisdom teachings and the genius process that led to his transformation discovered on the extraordinary journey that took him from the shores of Santa Barbara, California, to the jungles of Brazil and Peru. An author, speaker, futurist, social architect, impact investor, advisor, conservationist, 27 years as a CEO and serial entrepreneur. Adam began his professional career as a self-described Earth Conqueror, all right, ultimately turning into the role of EarthKeeper. He was the founder of 3 successful real estate development companies before personal and professional devastation forced him to reevaluate everything in his life. Ultimately, he began to integrate a deeply spiritual and more authentic and natural approach, becoming a trained shaman and teacher of the Course of Miracles. It was then that he chose to focus on creating a company that protected the planet and particularly open space at risk of development. As the CEO of Renaissance Capital, Adam raised $1.5 billion plus in capital investment to rescue and conserve premier natural landscapes. He spent 2 decades as an impact investor dedicated to quadrupling the bottom line, which is people, planet, profits with purpose. And he founded the EarthKeeper Alliance. Adam has dedicated himself to fostering conscious evolution, business, and culture over the past 2 decades through his books, Divine Genius, The Unlearning Curve, and his first book in his autobiographical trilogy, The EarthKeeper, Undeveloping the Future. His 40 keynotes and the more than 60 radio and television show interviews he has done. Adam continues to seek ways to elevate consciousness. Today, he is the founder, CEO of Genius Studio, creator of the Genius Process. So, yeah, quite a lot of stuff in there. Yeah, you're got a lot of energy. You've got a lot of brilliance. Got a lot of a lot of oomph to bring into the world, lots of love. So I appreciate everything in there. And yeah, a couple of things. We had met, of course, I meet with a lot of the guests that come on to the show, and we were talking about things. And one of the biggest things that really struck me with your title, with the new book, is this idea of divine genius, the unlearning curve, that we're going to unlearn the future. I love that, with all timelines and all those kinds of concepts and whatnot as well. I'd love to hear your inspiration and your wisdom and knowledge around the unlearning, because you had your own unlearning process to go through, right? So you had developed a certain psyche and focus in your life to accumulate and conquer, as it says in your bio, Earth Conqueror, and then you had to unlearn that in a way, right? And then, so I'd love to hear what you have to say about that, like your own process in that, and what you have learned what you've learned and now are wanting to share with the world around unlearning what we've learned about, like, hey, it's about conquering your life, conquering the world, conquer this, conquer that, right? So I'd love to hear what you have to share about that to kick us off.
Well, absolutely. And I think you and I know that we've kind of come to what I best say is a very interesting choice point on this planet as a whole. I mean, we obviously have a pandemic that's moving through and perhaps more to come, according to some folks. We have climate, which is a major crisis. So there's so many things that are challenging us in our external world. And obviously we oftentimes, that's what where we're focused, is in what's happening in our outer world, Dan, and look at all the chaos, and look at that person, and look at me, and poor guy, and poor me. So that kind of conundrum of a life experience is one that keeps us locked in, I found, in a very small perceptual lens. In other words, like when I was in the business world, I was just hard charging, looking to achieve the American dream, more money, more earth conquering, really doing things that were about, me, quite frankly, just the narcissist that I am. So I begin to look at, well, wait a second, I didn't feel so good. I was Tums in the morning, and as I've said, tequila at night. And it was really like, well, what can I do? And, Einstein, of course, when we think of genius or a divine genius, Einstein certainly was a genius by any measure, not just his IQ, but his emotional IQ as well, his spiritual IQ, which is our consciousness. And what I recognized really was inspired so much by him when he said, you can't solve the problem from the place that the problem was created. In other words, the conundrum of the life that we're living and the life that I'd been living, really separate from nature, not so happy, but fleeting moments of happiness, success and money. But what did it really mean at the end of the day if I didn't feel good? And, something was missing. So it was not so much of that I needed to get anything outside of myself. I just needed to unlearn the patterns in the mind and the thoughts that I was thinking. We think 60, 70, 80,000 thoughts a day. And the vast majority of those are just repetitive thoughts that are based on our past thinking and our past conditioning, our own limiting beliefs, our traumas, our wounds, Dan. And the idea here is we don't need to acquire anything because it's been given. Our genius is given. It's just been hidden. The brilliance of who we are and the love of who we are, the joy and abundance of who we are has been given. We just have separated ourselves from that, and we have forgotten that. So the Unlearning Curve in the book that I put out is a process, a journey to unlearn straight away, instantaneously, all that no longer serves us, and to identify the problem that creates all these other problems. And when we solve that problem, then we get beyond the problems of our lives. So hopefully that makes some sense and can kick us off a little bit for a deeper dive.
Totally, totally. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. So it's interesting because what I talk a lot about with well, there's a lot of ideas still about you with conquering. I wanted to go back to that because that's the big conversation, right? That basically gets into everything that we're dealing with collectively and individually is
Mhm.
this idea of conquering, or we're victim to the conquerors, and oh my God, what are we going to do about that? And I'm hopeless, or how am I going to figure it out? So it's either one or the other. Like so, either you fight back or you hope and pray for the best and eke out your existence, right? So uh, that's kind of how I see it because we've been told, like, yeah, the American dream, you got to work hard and all that sort of stuff. I heard about how we used to work so many more hours, right? And we really valued, work ethic. We supposedly needed it for survival, right? You need work 69 hours a week, even was the average, like over like 100 years ago or something like that. Like people working 69 hours on average. And now it's 39 hours. So we knocked off 30 hours. And people that are old school think we're gotten lazy. You're soft, you're lazy, you're not hard ass enough. You got to conquer. There's competition, baby. It's gonna kill you. And I'd love to talk to somebody who's been on that, probably been in that game, right? With being Earth Conqueror, you must have perceived competition. You must believe that you got to do the 996 or whatever they call it, right? Work 9 to 9 every day, 6 days a week at least, just to keep up. Um, I love to hear about that because I know that programming is so strong. People hear it again and again. People that listen here don't want to believe that's true, and then those people tell us that we're crazy and we're never going to make it. So I love to hear your perspective on that because I think that's like a practical piece of stuff a thing that people deal with.
Well,
Um,
for sure they do, Dan. And we seemingly, live in a dog eat dog world. I live by that law as an Earth Conqueror, and that law was really in the jungle when the sun comes up. Whether you're the lion or the gazelle, you better run like hell. So the Darwinian theories and the ideas of survival of a fittest in some ways served us because have been able to obviously evolve, from in in every manner in terms of how we live and how we feed our people, and obviously the world still has many problems, but at the same time, when it all boils down to that mentality, it got us where we are. And now we're in a heap of trouble and a heap of challenge. So what do you do about it? So you mentioned, well, can you fight it? You can fight it, or you can say, you know what? I can't do anything about it. I'm throwing up my hands. I just need to take care of myself. Well, I want to offer another alternative. I want to offer an alternative that it just says to you, it says to each of us that we have the ability within our own power to make a choice. So we can choose to move beyond and through a way of thinking and living in the world and building the world, which is the ego mind, that separate mind that keeps us in a survival, dog eat dog, just getting by kind of mode. And I tried that, and it didn't work very well for me. And that lifestyle, I believe, is a lifestyle of disease. Either you're at disease, you're not in peace, or we're actually diseasing and dying. Quite frankly, I believe that's exactly what it is. So why not choose again? Why not choose to make another choice, which is the choice for the most authentic self of who you are, of what brings you your best life ever right now? And that's the idea of the unlearning curve and the divine genius in the book. It's one thing to just talk about this stuff, but I'm not just talking about this stuff. Putting forth a process that moves us into and beyond being the Earth Conqueror into what I call the Earth Keeper. In other words, wouldn't you rather live in harmony with yourself, with your partner, with your children, with your environment? So the answer, I think many of us would say yes. We just don't know how. So the idea is choose into a deeper inner place within you that is the most authentic place that nobody can mess with. Nobody can take away your right to choose either that ego mind, that separate mind, that conquering mind, or to choose the genius within you, the genius mind that I call it. Some call it the Buddha mind, the Christ mind, the God mind. Call it whatever you want. But this is the authentic you, and that person and that place within you is alive and very present. So I like that choice. And the whole idea of the divine genius, the unlearning curve, is to help you and everyone make that choice, because it's time, if I think you would agree, to make some choices, because where we are is not where we want to be. And it's time
Right,
to move
right.
on.
It is. It's like, there's been a party going on, and at some level we thought it was going well, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, man, things aren't going so great. Look at the planet, look at what's happening to our bodies, and we're starting to see the ripping apart of society in so many different ways, and the value systems too, in many cases,
Yeah.
deteriorated too. Um, so yeah, so sometimes it looks like it's the scary monsters that are outside of us that have created all this, right? The Illuminati, the three people on the planet, they're the ones that created all this. They're the ones that are enslaving us. They're the ones that are making us do all these things. We didn't have them, we'd be fine. We would be
Yeah.
enlightened, we'd be fine.
That's an old
We'd be
story.
living in love and light. Everything would be wonderful. We'd dancing on the tabletops every night. And then and then we could freeze dry our reality, and it'd be an enlightened state, and we'd be perfect, right? So, and we wouldn't need money. We're all going to sing Kumbaya, and everything's going to be fine. So, there are these dichotomies. I keep pointing to different ways our mind divvies it up. But what you're pointing to is to something, the authentic self, to something deeper. I would kind of ask you though, what is that? I've got my own answer, but I want to hear your answer. Like,
Well,
what is the
yeah.
authentic self? We have so many different aspects to our beingness, but what is really in your from your
Well,
perspective?
that's a good question, because, and to your point, when we think about the duality or the dichotomy of life, in one sense, we can play the victim card, the perpetrator card. We live in a world that is, seemingly it's all about conspiracies, and it's all about, whether they're true or whatever's true is not the point. The point is it's a lousy excuse that we can make to ourselves as human beings, that we would be subject to anything or anybody other than our own truth as we define it for ourselves, not as our community or our family or our politics or the Illuminati. That's classic victim perpetrator mentality. That locks us in that ego mind, separate mind. And if that's in the place where you feel like you are, I'm just going to say it very clearly. Be radically honest with yourself, because that's a bunch of BS, and that's an excuse to just play small and not embrace our authentic self, our true power as our genius. So I'd like to speak to what that is, because many of us do not know that answer. And I can only say that I did not know that answer either. And that's why I was an earth conquering narcissist, kind of what they described as that millionaire jerk. So the point of this is, how do we embrace the authenticity of self? That self is a place of journey to discovery. It's not a journey in the external world. It doesn't come through defining ourselves through a fancy shiny car or a big house or all the accoutrements, so to speak, of the material world. That's all over there, and that ego and that earth conquering and all that story. And that just happens to be a little part of herself, because there's this bigger part that I discovered. And I shared the stories vulnerably, transparently, and, that aren't so flattering to me in many ways in this journey, because I've had this experience that says, well, there's a journey into deeper sense of who I am. Who am I as a man? And men are greatly challenged right now and will be in big ways going forward. To all you men, time to look within. No rhyme or reason here, but this is the point, is to step up, because if you want to feel good and you really enjoy our lives, this is what it takes. So the authentic self is the self that functions in 4 capacities. One, it's a physical capacity, physicality, a mental capacity, our mental capacity. It's also our emotional capacity, and it's our spiritual capacities. These are our 4 bodies: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. These are our 4 intelligence. Those are also intelligent ways of functioning in the world. So when we engage ourselves and come into an understanding of those 4 intelligence, those 4 bodies of who we are, then we begin to embrace the truth of who we are. I was thinking, oh, I'm just out in the world to conquer the world and take care of my family and screw everybody. I don't give a shit about that guy. Doesn't matter to me. And then ultimately it's like, well, wait a second. Is that really who I am? Is that the way I want to live my life? I got all this stuff. That's fine. But is that really who I am? Does that really give me a life that feels abundant? No. Matter of fact, some of the wealthiest people in the world seemingly are the poorest, because our attachments to material things keep us poor. We never have enough. Oh, why people aren't they giving away more? They don't have enough. It's a scarcity mentality. Some of the richest people I know are people that have very little, because they're connected to the earth. They're connected to, they have family. They're not lonely. So coming to our authentic self, which is the essence of who we are in our body, our physicality, our mental, our mind, our whole mind. This is where the action is: whole mind, divine mind, not separate ego mind. And into our emotional sense, connected to our heart, connected deeply to our heart, and connected to spirit, whatever that is for you. It doesn't matter what spirit is for you. You get to define that. If that's a church, fine. If it's the Buddhism, fine. It doesn't matter. The point is that creates the authentic being within ourselves, and the connection when we know we're being authentic. Here's the trick to check in. You want to check in if you're being authentic? It's when you show up to have a conversation with another person. You're able to look them in the eye. You don't have to stare at them, but you can look them in the eye, and you can share where you are, how you feel, what you're thinking, and why you care about life. And you can do that in business, but it's being real. It's being transparency. Transparency is the new consciousness of the authentic human being. This is Human 2.0. I talk a lot about it on my website, where you can check out a lot more about being and becoming authentically you. So hopefully that's helpful, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think that, people, I've heard, people say it's the age of authenticity, transparency, and all those sorts of things. And it is kind of mind blowing, because previously it was the age of facades and, covering everything up, and not just the opposite. What are your appearances?
Still is.
Appearance was that, well, right. We're still transitioning, right?
Still, totally. Sorry to interrupt you, but it still is that way.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I mean,
take it from me. I was a good bullshitter. I was like an imposter living in this other life.
Right.
Sorry to jump in here, but
It's very seductive.
Call myself out on this.
Yeah, it's very seductive, isn't it? When you can be persuasive and put on a facade. Nobody knows, you say whatever you want, just to get the deal done, right? I mean,
Well,
whatever you want to get the deal done.
that's how we seemingly roll. I mean, social media is designed around this kind of stuff, and it's self-seductive, and it's probably one of the most dangerous things to your own existence, and it's deadly to your sense of happiness and joy. It just is not where we want to be. I know I live this life. I'm vigilant about it. It crops up still today in its own way. So thanks for bringing that up, because, this is a time of transparency and being real, honest. And I'm so with you. And that's why I wanted to come and talk to you today, Dan, because this is a moment that we have that's going to determine really, our own well-being. I want to say fate, but this isn't simply about fate, Dan. This is about our destiny. This is about our collective destiny on the planet, which we get to co-create. All this shit going down right now, whatever it is out there in this chaotic world, and it's ever changing, it's always going to be this and that. That's the way it is. It's always been that way. It always will be. But what's not always that way is how we can experience, how we can choose to perceive it and show up. And there's great news here. We get to write the story, the end to this story. We get to write an ending and write a new beginning. And that's the beauty of it. We have the power to do that. So hopefully we can do that together without the conquistadors, within us, coming back to really take it all down, because this is our time. Yes, it is.
Right. I mean, we've got, like you're talking about, the four intelligence and all that stuff, and the authentic self. Yeah, it is. It's tough to be vulnerable. It's tough to say, yeah, I've been that guy. I could say that too. I've been that guy in my own way, right? I've been the jerk. I've been the persuasive one. I've gotten carried away. I've told people things that weren't true. In marketing, in marketing, you get so indoctrinated the idea, you got to make it sound as good as possible. It's very easy to go down those roads. I mean, I'm just telling everybody, because there are entrepreneur type people that listen to this. So it's very easy to slip, like, oh, it's okay if I tell them everybody gets results. I don't tell them that like half the people I kick out of the program because they're not getting results, or I'm lying or whatever, right? Doesn't matter. From my perception, everybody is killing it. You tell them whatever they need to hear, right? And you see a lot of that. And if they don't like it on the backside, oh well, I got the deal done. And a lot of short-sighted thinking is what you're right, is exactly what's gotten people into the thing. And so I feel like the more part of the authentic self and the vulnerable self is to say, what serves like eternity here on earth? If we were to be here forever, what serves us to the highest level? What is our more natural state, before we start building and creating everything, coming back into that stripped down state of being the primal self, right? Being on the earth. And we make such a big deal. I see all the headlines. Oh my God, GDP only be like 4% versus, whatever, 4.4%. Oh my God, the economy is going to fall apart. And I mean, there's a few things missing from the shelves. Oh my God, this is a crisis. This is like we're bleeding cash. Oh my God. And it's so ridiculous to me. I mean, like, don't you guys see the riches of life and how fortunate you got? A roof, you got food, you got running water. Hey, you're rich. You're rich even on a physical level. You're rich. It's just so insane. It's so insane what we've gotten to. And you're right. I've met millionaires and many people with a lot of money. And you're right. So there's some of the most poverty-driven people I've ever met in my life. And it was stunning to me when I first discovered that. I didn't know that until I started hanging out with more people like that. I'm like, oh my God, you're like worried 24/7 about money, like making more and that you're going to lose it, right? Like, oh my God, you are such a low poverty consciousness. It's crazy. And these are some of the people that are, some of the people that we're giving our power and our energy to from our own inauthentic self, is how I see it. And then we try to fit into that realm because we think like that's how we're supposed to fit into this mold that we're seeing out there, right? And this illusion. So Yeah, it's a big awakening right now, right? So it's, yeah,
Well, it is.
unlearning.
There's tremendous amount of unlearning, and the awakening is coming through like a wave that's sweeping through the oceans of our beautiful planet, and it's not a matter of that it's going to swallow us up or munch us up, but ultimately, if you choose to step and embrace your journey to the authentic self, then it'll munch and let the other piece go that no longer works. And so this is why I focus on be selfish in the sense that you're maintaining and enhancing the journey to your own authentic self, the truth of who you are, because there is compassion and kindness, there is the abundance. And it may seem like, well, no, I don't get that. And of course, I didn't get that either. But the more I peeked at it, the more I looked and explored what that potentiality was within my own self, the more I recognized how complete that is. How, in many ways, nothing changes. That place within is changeless. And how I thrive in the changelessness of my internal being in a world that's constantly changing, for example. So that's the key. Can you imagine if Dan, how much we would garner from our own exploration if we would spend half or even a third or 10% of our time looking within our own brilliance, looking within ourselves as we look outside the world. Oh, that person's doing that. Oh, this is what's going on in that. And that's duality. That's just that old stuff that just is a place of being miserable, if you ask me. And
Mhm,
it's
yeah.
not, it's, hey, we're in the world. Maybe sometimes we don't feel like we're in the world, but we are in the world. We may not be from the world because we're spiritual beings
Right.
in addition to being physical beings. But most importantly, we're not physically a body per se. We're just functioning and flowing in the world through this body. And I get that that's kind of an abstract kind of woo-woo idea, but it's an idea that offers us a choice. Do you want to be trapped and stuck in all this chaos? Or do you really want to step into the totality of who you are and your authentic self, the abundant self? So the journey to genius offers you and everybody a way into that. So I'd love to roll a little bit with some things
Yeah.
because this is a time that's putting us all to a test, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, I mean, because, okay, let's unlearn, but then, all this woo-woo stuff, okay, I'll just have fun with that because I think most of this audience is totally into the woo. So it's kind of like, yeah, of course, the woo. So, but yeah, I know a lot of the places you talk, I'm sure, yeah, there's the woo sauce gets to be too much for some people. But the truth is, yeah, okay, but even for this audience, okay, great. I understand. I can feel that eternal self when I'm in meditation or whatever the case might be for the listener. But then, and I could go, I mean, I totally go with that, but I'm broke. Like they're in business and they're broke. But I know I'm with my eternal self, but they're still sad because they're broke financially, I don't know how to get my healing business going. I don't know how to get my coaching business going, whatever may be the case. So there's that sense of like, yeah, everything's great, but then they don't know how to proceed because they don't feel like they know how to market or sell or they don't know how to take it to the next level, even if they know all that. And they feel like, whoa, do I have to do one of these crazy models I see online to be a crazy internet marketer or be successful? Is that how the answer? Or what do I need to do to make it happen, so to speak? So I was
I got some
wondering if you could
ideas
talk
for
about
you.
that with as it relates to the divine genius you're talking about, right? Like,
Yes.
how does the claiming your divine genius really help with all that from your perspective?
Well, I'm so happy you said that because it's, if it's not pragmatic and practical and you can't apply it in your life, it doesn't mean a hill of beans, as the old cliche would go. So that's excellent to say that. A couple things there that are so important, right now, because and we're seeing it in our culture and our society. Last month, 4.3 million people left their places of work. We've had over 4 million people leaving their places of work for the last several months. In other words, it's not a matter of them not going to find other work, because some of them are in the journey and wanting to do that. But what it's saying is there's something more to their lives. The pandemic offers us an opportunity to be very self-reflective. By God, we had to sit with each other. We had to sit with ourselves. We had to do things that were different, that allowed us to really feel and see ourselves in new ways. And this is the journey to genius. This is when we begin to take those first steps of meaning, of purpose, of mission. What is my cause in life? So I want to offer to those of you that want to really engage and live in their fullest life of their authentic self, but at the same time, by God, you got to put food on the table and a roof over your head. I get that that's very practical and pragmatic, and that's something that's necessary. And here's some thoughts on what to do and how to do it. Okay, here's what I'd like to offer. First and foremost, whatever you choose to do, whatever you're looking at to explore, you want to do two things. You want to first and foremost know that it's going to serve the betterment of everybody. In other words, it's just not about you. Like I was living the life that was about me. We've lived in a world that's all about ourselves or our business, about our product, about how we can lie and some cheat, some steal, some deceive. It's all a big deceptive thing, and we don't even know what's true anymore. You know, journalism, whatever. What is that? You know, we get it. But the fact of the matter is, when we move into a place of how we can make our community better, for example, maybe you want to build a daycare business. Maybe you want to have something where you can build a business that's in your home. You know, maybe you want to build a business that you can show up and you can provide a service in your community for people that are of special needs, and they have tremendous needs for services. These are places where you can all make resources. These are places where you can build really goodwill, helping other people.
Right.
You know, maybe you want to work in the environment. My thing is environment. I like planting trees, and I support organizations that do this. So there's ways to show up and be in your vocation. Vocation meaning it's not work. Vocating meaning it's work plus. It's work plus doing something that brings you most alive. And that's the second thing. What brings you most alive? How can you serve? What brings you most alive? So when you ground those things and we get aligned with those things, we're able to manifest, Dan, opportunities and people. We show up in places, and all of a sudden we get to share why we're here, and from our heart. We get to explore why our authentic self wants to serve and support the greater good of everyone. Not at them, not by disserving yourself, but that actually serves ourselves. So there's a couple ideas about, first of all, getting yourself into alignment and of your heart, your body, your emotional state, your spiritual state, getting yourself in alignment with how that can serve the better good of others in your community, and then ultimately bring you most alive, because there are possibilities. There's many new possibilities that are opening up right now. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful in exploring. That's a big conversation, and there's more to it, but hopefully that gets some ideas going.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. I love that, because I was just thinking about that the other day, because I still have that energy of I can be all kinds of different energies, but like I do have competitive energy in me. I can be extraordinarily competitive if I want to be. If that gets riled up inside, I'll win no matter what, that kind of thing, right? So some of that, and then sometimes it's just about like wanting to be more excellent at whatever I'm doing. So having an enrollment conversation with somebody, even if sometimes even if they're going to work with me, I'm like, could I have done that better, right? It's like which I think is healthy to a point, right? Like, is there something I could have done better? Is there something I could improve on? So I thought about yesterday, there's somebody I met with, and, she's like, well, I don't have the money right now and everything. And I've done sales training for a lot of people. I know sales. So I know how to deal with those objections, technically speaking, and all that. I'd be like, well, what's it costing you? Don't you think to now's the time? And go all this stuff. But something inside of me just says, like in that case, in that day, in that moment, I'm like, I don't think this is the right time. I really don't think it's the right time. I really feel that. I really authentically feel that, even though like my competitive self, that's like, we need to kill it for you, we need to kill it for me, we need to kill it. This is for the highest good. I could actually convince myself it's for the highest good for me and for her, right? We should do it right now. Now's the time. And I just something inside me, it just surrenders now, whereas in the past, years ago, I would just blow right through that. I would act like she didn't even say she didn't have the money and now wasn't the right time. We're like, nope, now's the right time. You're kidding yourself. You'll never do it if you don't do it now. Blah 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 blah. And then that's kind of was my way of doing things. And yesterday I really reflected on that deeply, and I was like, I constantly am asking myself right now. I love the reflection you're showing in the consciousness here. It's like I constantly asking very squarely, like, what is for the very highest for everyone, not just for me or for my family even, or for whatever, like for everyone and everything, like what is for the highest right now? And then just really going with that, even if it seems like, holy cow, this is eviscerating my ego, I'm not going to hit my numbers or whatever, whatever the idea is. It's like, no, what's for the highest? That doesn't matter. What's for the highest, and to follow that first and foremost. I'm guessing that has something to do with what you just said for sure, but also has to do with what you talk about with the unlearning curve and the divine genius and all that. Like I had to unlearn certain ways of being in order for me to be more for in my depth of what's really the highest for all.
Yeah, well, good on you, Dan, and thanks for sharing that with me, and I really appreciate it. And it has everything to do with unlearning the patterns that are not serving the greater good of the whole.
Yeah.
And which means when we know that what's in the highest interest of someone else, and we honor what they need at the moment, then we get to be real with ourselves and authentic with ourselves. And that actually builds up goodwill over time.
Right.
In other words, it's not like, oh, that's a nut loss in that person.
Right.
No, it's the energy that's created and the reciprocity that's created through serving the higher whole that now brings an opportunity for somebody else or something even bigger or more of service to you financially, energetically, emotionally, spiritually, relationship, whatever. It allows that goodwill to add up. I call these kind of the little love crumbs.
Mm-hmm.
And when we build up all that love and all those crumbs, then we're inviting much more of the love and abundance and that place from the quantum field and our connection with that. And that's a big conversation, but it invites us to bring in that energy. Whereas if we're just building up, you know what, I tried to pitch that person and I just wanted what I wanted and I got what I wanted. And that builds up just little dirt crumbs. And that's just a pile of stuff. And eventually, if we just keep not telling the truth, or we keep living in terms of deception, and we keep living in terms of separation, it's just like a pile that we just bury ourselves in. And ultimately, it buries us. It buries our health. We can't breathe. And essentially, we just dig a 6-foot hole for ourselves. And that's what we're doing when we're living in that kind of lifestyle. So good on you. Show up. It's the good of the whole, serving the betterment of everyone. And when you're in that place, there's actually the neuroscience of our own brains. The wiring of our own brains begins to wire and fire in new ways, which is about generosity, altruism, our heart, our own resources and goodwill and kindness comes back to us. This is not theory. This is science. This has been proven through both philosophical teachings, spiritual teachings, through the laws of attraction and laws of spirituality. But it's the nature of the quantum field, and our quantum physicists and scientists are now showing of our interconnectivity to the whole. And so some really good things happening here, exciting things for everybody.
Yeah, it's funny. It's just like, it's not that I haven't been already living in this way, like in those conversations. It's been like, is this process of unlearning over years and years. Like, there's still a voice that wonders, like, wait a minute, was that really the right choice? There, and it's a huge process, right? As you know, I mean, you've lived it too. It's this deconditioning process, right? Because
I'm living
came
it.
up in metaphysics, it's like, if we decide it's now, it is, and it's happening, and blah blah blah. And I learned, like, there's unintended consequences with that kind of, it's all now and happen now, boom boom boom. There's unintended consequences that happen with that. Shit does blow up, so to speak. I mean, stuff happens, and
it does.
Yeah,
it does.
Always.
I'm living it, and I'm experiencing it.
Yeah.
And here's what I would like everybody to take note to around what Dan just shared here, and it's really important. And that is the lag time between our actions and our deeds associated with those actions and the place they come from within ourselves. In other words, the lag time between the moment that we're feeling it, thinking it, and doing it to what it manifests is shortening very quickly. In other words, if we're in a place of negativity, we're in a place of anger or rage, we're in a place of not showing up in our deeper truth, but we're in a place of that separate peace, we're going to get it right back in our face like that. Yeah. And it's getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And I'm not a big prognosticator, but in the next 2 to 3 years, 4 years, it's going to happen like that. Right. And here is the good news. The good news is the same applies for the flip side. You're in your heart. You're in your goodwill. You're in your generosity. You're giving somebody a buck. You're looking them in the eye and just saying, hey, I see you today. Hey, what's some synergy that wants to happen in your relationship? Are you calling in more love or money or peace? Like that. Imagine that. Where instantaneous manifestation is taking place. It's happening because that's the way the nature of the universe is operating right now. We're feeling it in difficult and challenging ways because those difficult and challenging ways, Dan, are inviting us to unlearn and let go. The pain is actually the gift. We're inviting ourselves to come into this authenticity. And that's the whole idea of the genius process. That's the whole idea of the work that I'm doing, the work you're doing in your way. And, together we can do this. Alone, no, that's not how we're flying anymore. We're flying here together. Look forward to doing it with you.
Yeah, exactly. So, Adam, we could talk for hours, right? So, like I always say with my guests, we get rolling. It's like, man, there's so much more to get into. Sure. And I just so appreciate everything you're sharing. It's such a gift to me and then to our listeners, that are resonating with what we're talking about and that feeding everybody. So, but I know you have more to share with people. I mean, I know you've got the book, right? So you got your books, the most recent Divine Genius, the Unlearning Curve. But you also, you have this neat little ebook for people, right? I think it's an ebook, a free gift for people.
I love this ebook, and I'd love it to share it with everybody. If you go to my website, www.adamhall.solutions, adamhall.solutions, you can click in there, and I got this free little ebook that's called The Little Book of Genius for Abundance. I want to help in lack once and for all. I want to help end scarcity once and for all. I want to help everybody recognize the abundance of the world, abundance within themselves, and the connection place with it. So there's a few little meditations. There's some wisdom there. It's a simple little book. You get it for free. You can flip through it. You can have it. And it's also just in introducing my my other book in a bigger way, The Divine Genius, The Unlearning Curve, where you can find all the processes, all the wisdom, and all the learning. And then I have a new book coming out next month, which first I mentioned it to anybody. I'm mentioning it right here on your show, Dan, called The Little Book of Genius for Abundance. It's the ebook, but it's a bigger book where we're talking about insights. We're talking about the processes for manifestation. We're sharing stories. And in that bigger book, it's a great thing to tune into your own abundance. So check out that little ebook. And if you like that, then you can then go on Amazon. Of course, you can connect and buy The Divine Genius, The Unlearning Curve, or the bigger book coming out next month. A lot of exciting things going on out there. And I want to share it with everybody. And I want us all to come together, because together we get to move through these times that we're very challenged.
Yeah, so definitely check that out at adamhall.solutions and grab that little book, you know. And it's, yeah, I love the graphics I saw on it and everything. The sun's shining, everything. That's, you know, that's increasingly, hopefully, how more and more of us can experience our days here on Earth, no matter what the times, because you can feel it. You can feel it in your heart all day long when you're connected. When you're connected, you feel it. You feel the radiant rays of source flowing through you, and no matter what the conditions, it's still there. It never goes away. Yeah. And when you get really connected to that, that's what you get to enjoy, no matter what's going on. And we've got all the rest to deal with. Sure, we've got our emotions and everything else, but when you have that, it's so invaluable when you learn to live from that space more and more. That's where the abundance happens that Adam's talking about, right? And that he's sharing with you. So go to adamhall.solutions and take advantage of that. So, all right, Adam. So the next thing is just our the segment we do for the energy scanning. So do a little tuning into your energy. Just usually 3 things I pick up on to share briefly with you. So you ready to receive?
I'm ready to receive, Dan. Thank you for your offering, and look forward to experiencing your gifts and your genius. So I'm present for you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Yeah, this is fun, especially for trained shaman and everything, right? This is fun. Okay. All right, so I'm getting something around you, like definitely the vibe is that you've done I get an Inca energy and all this stuff. So it kind of feels like a past life connection. We get a flute energy, so that tells me there may be a connection to that in your past lives as well. And then I also get for this life, it feels like there's something around, it could be metaphorical, but I get this singing energy coming from your throat chakra. So like there's this because you're embracing your tenderness, right? You're embracing more and more of that. And I get this like singing energy wanting to come through your voice. So I feel that music and perhaps singing, I don't know if it's literal, but it wants to come through you, and that it softens you, and it's somehow important to that process. So well, I'll get your feedback on that in a minute. We're going to the 2 more things real quick. And then I get this lap of luxury, and they're showing me a tropical island. And again, I don't know if it's metaphorical. Again, I'm not going to say conclusively yet, but it feels like, oh, this is a place for everybody. Everybody could come spend some time here. And it does have a feeling like a retreat center, like everybody could come here, which would make sense too with your past. We didn't even get into plant medicine stuff you've done and everything that's helped you. I could see like maybe you being, if you're not already doing this, like helping people with that. Maybe you're not always the facilitator really, but like you could have like it set up for people to go and have those experiences is what the vibe I'm getting around it. So that feels really like, oh my God, the inner riches that you help people to embody and experience there just so feels very transcendent. So that's what's coming through on that. Let me see what's next. Yeah, maybe. Okay. All right. So I'm getting like I don't know how many books you've done. It sounds like a few so far, but I'm getting like this vibe on 10 books. So just the basic message of keep going with the books. Or that's the message I'm getting. Just keep them going. You got so much to share as a feeling. Like just need to keep sharing these different books that are coming to you to share. I also get with your philanthropy with that is, and again, you may already be doing some of this, but I see you giving books away, like giving books away. Hold on. Oh, well, it could also be like when you're giving books away that people are maybe giving to charity too. Like maybe they're giving this something and then part you give to them, right? So they're going to give to a charity and then you're going to give to them. Part of it might be a book, but maybe it's more than that, right? So I get this give kind of model. So it feels really good, really, really good. So yeah, so those are I try to keep it to three. We could be here forever, otherwise I'll have things coming through. But I'll just give it to three, Adam. Any thoughts? Or I'd be fascinated to hear your feedback on anything that resonated or what's coming up for you.
Well, thank you for sharing that and taking the moment to attune to my field and receive those messages. All three of those things resonate with me and deeply, and the last in terms of the writing, and that's going to continue. There'll be much more of that. There's already happening, and the giving is something that I want to more fully incorporate in, and it's something that I'm anticipating doing that as well around the books in general, and of course continue to do that. The other piece that you mentioned around the tropical island and the retreat and inviting people, of course, that's in my world. I haven't been doing that as an organizational principle, but I love it. I think the tropical island is a very presence for me because I lived a past life on one, if you believe in that. But those are very abundant, warm places. The deeply feminine, but also the warmth and the abundance of the food and all of that, and the energy of it is something that supports me, and I think it supports us all. So love to support and my own journey, my own soul's work there, and as well as other people. Love that piece. And the Incan piece is very resonant for me, as you can see, both from the Chicana, the Incan symbol of the Incan Empire, as well as the staff, which is the ferryman that navigates people across the river of life, so to speak, from the old way of 1-0 to their 2-way that we talked about today. So
Yeah.
love that. And the flute is so beautiful because although I'm not, don't consider myself a flute player, I have one, and the Native American archetypal energy of Coco Capelli, the one who plays the flute, is the one that brings forth the abundance of our life and brings forth that for everybody to share in the abundance of the world that we live in. And I believe that's very much a part of why I'm here, is to share whatever in my own little way, so to speak, anything I can to bring people alive into their greatest passion and to live the best life they've ever have right now. So thank you for having me today.
Deeply awesome. Yeah. And I would have had no idea. I don't now that you say that those are Incan symbols, like the one, like the one of them, like I recognize now that you say that. Yeah, well, the other one actually.
Well, this is that, yeah.
Yeah, that one I recognize now that you say. I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess I kind of know that somewhere in the back of my consciousness, but I didn't know that. But like, it's cool that you actually have those right there on set. So that's just fun to hear, that you are that connected to it. So anyway, so cool. That's always fun. And so if people want to check me out, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. And I do offer a Rock Your Sacred Purpose energy scan consultation. There is, at this time anyway, there's still an application there to fill out for me to review and see if it might be a good fit for us to connect and for me to offer you some guidance on how to rock your sacred purpose through your business. And also there's a meditate, make money meditation there that helps open up your energy, your chakras, and gets you into the harmonics of what wants to happen through you and allows the energy of abundance at many levels, including money, to be turned on in that process. So go to yoursacredpurpose.com to get your meditate, make money, and take a look at the energy scan consultation there. All right, great. So Adam, any last words for the audience today?
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you, everybody, for being here and taking your important time. These are exciting times, and we get to write that last story. We get to know how we want to end the chapter that we're in. And the beauty of this is each of us get to begin our new book, our new chapter, as we see fit, as defined by ourselves. We need no gurus. We need no priest. We are the guru. We are the priest in our own lives. We have the power. I'm just here to help everybody and support everybody to remember their divine genius and to embrace their own power to choose the way forward and through into abundance and a joyful life. So wonderful to be here with you. Blessings and to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam. Thanks. It's such a pleasure. And thanks to all our listeners. And like I always say to end, keep on tuning in and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till the next time, everyone. Goodbye for now.
You're listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.